Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 15 of Alloy's Lunch and Learn sessions. So today we will be covering a topic that's becoming more and more popular these days with the hybrid working environments and the need for meeting room spaces to be set up and returned as everybody does kind of move back into the office. So we'll be going through selecting the right MTR solution for your meeting rooms. So my name is Scott Young and I'm the Manager of Products and Services here at Alloy Computer Products. So let's take it away. Okay, so the topics we will look at today is MTR, so Windows versus Android. We'll have a look at selecting the right camera for the type of meeting room that you've got, selecting the correct audio devices for those rooms as well. And we'll also go through a few room design considerations when looking at implementing MTR solutions into boardrooms or meeting room solutions. And then we'll finish with a quick Q&A session as well at the end. So throughout the presentation, if you do have any questions, just feel free to put them into the Q&A or the chat panel in Zoom, and then we'll get to them at the end of the session. Okay, so I'd just like to quickly go through a little bit of the brief history on the Android-based solutions. So originally, Microsoft called these devices collaboration bars. So the initial collaboration bars that were released into the market was the Yanlink VC210. So as Microsoft and the vendor partners worked together and introduced more and more features into the collaboration bar space, Microsoft decided to change the name from collaboration bars to MTR on Android. So now we have the MTR on Android solutions and we have the MTR on Windows solutions. And one of the main reasons why they changed that naming convention for these devices was because the features that are now supported on the Android devices are very similar now to the Windows-based solutions. The user interface is now very similar between Windows and Android. So they've decided to rename them, move them away from that collaboration bar name and move it to a MTR on Android-based device. So just looking at some of the very first versions of the collaboration bars, there was a big difference when they first came to market. So for example, the collaboration bars, they only supported 720p. They could only support a single screen, and there was also no support for content sharing. So it really did limit where these devices could be installed. So really they were more of a personal device where managers or whatnot might use them in their office for Teams meetings that they're doing. But now, as we've moved forward, and Microsoft have released more features into these MTR devices on Android, they're now more on par to the Windows-based solutions. So now the main differentiators between the Android and the Windows-based solutions is the Android solutions at this point in time are only really built for small to medium-sized rooms, whereas the Windows-based solutions, there's flexible kits that are available from huddle room spaces all the way up to extra large training room solutions. Another key feature that's not available on the Android but is available on Windows is the support for direct guest join. So this is a big feature that we get asked for time and time again now, is the ability to be able to use your Teams MTR solution to be able to join third-party video conferences. So that might be Zoom, that might be WebEx. So the one great thing about the Windows-based MTRs is that Microsoft, Zoom, and Cisco got together and they did allow that collaboration between those three different platforms. So on the Windows-based solutions, we're able to invite the Windows-based MTR solution into a Zoom or a Cisco WebEx meeting, and vice versa. So from a Zoom device, we can invite a Teams MTR solution into it, or on a Teams meeting, a Zoom room solution can be invited into a Teams meeting as well. Now with the Android devices, because they are an all-in-one solution, they're very simple to deploy. We can basically get away with running or connecting 2 cables into these devices, and we're set up and ready to go. So we can plug in power, we can plug in HDMI from our Android device into our TV. We can connect our Android device to our network via Wi-Fi, and away we go. We're up and running. We sign in to the MTR device with our either personal user credentials or our room resource account, and we're set up and we're ready to go. So very quick and simple deployment. Now, a couple of other kind of choices that we have when we're selecting between Android and Windows is sometimes it's company policy. So sometimes some companies, some organizations will not allow Android devices on their network or to be used purely because of management type issues. So that could also be another reason why you would go Windows or you'd go Android. And then lastly, there is limited management capabilities at the moment in TAC, which is a Teams Admin Center. So you've got more control over the Windows-based solutions than what you do over Android. But I'm sure that will change in the future. All right, so here's a bit of a slide with some kind of key takeaways of the differences between the features between Windows and Android. As you can see from this slide, I'm not going to go through it all, but really it's becoming more and more on par between those 2 devices. So not a lot of feature differentiation between the 2. I suppose another key feature that we'll look at here is the content camera. So if you are using whiteboards, that magic whiteboard functionality is only available on Windows. It's not available on Android. This slide is a little bit, or this table is a little bit old. So HDMI content input on Android is now available. So it's not in development anymore. And so is that 1080 support for video resolution. That's now available as well. Now, one thing I mentioned before was that direct guest join. So Microsoft are working on supporting that on Android. So, once that feature becomes available on Android, I think the Android-based device is going to be a great solution for those small to medium sized meeting spaces. Okay, so let's have a look at the camera selection. So when we look at a meeting room, look, there's so many different sizes, shapes, layouts of a meeting room. Every meeting room is different. So we really need to, there's no just one solution fits all for a meeting room. Every meeting room is different, depending on the furniture that might be in the meeting room, the walls, what material are the walls made of in that meeting room? What way does a table fit in that meeting room? Which way is it laid? Is a TV on the short end of the table or is it on the long end of the table? So there's so many differences in regards to room layout for meeting rooms and training rooms, etc. One of the key things we need to do though, when we're working out what camera is going to be best for our meeting room, is look at the field of view of the camera. So the field of view is going to tell us where the camera or what the camera is going to pick up in that meeting room. So if we look at an example of the UVC 86 or the UVC 84, it has an 80-degree field of view. So that means that anything too close to the table or too wide of that camera is not going to get picked up. So in the picture on this example, the UVC 86, I know it has 110 and 80. We'll get to that shortly, but the UVC 86 does actually have 2 cameras on it. But the main 12 times optical zoom camera that's used for the conferencing is 80 degrees. So on that picture there where we have the short edge table, that camera is a perfect solution for that, the way the room is set out and the way that table is configured. Now, if we look at the second picture, we have the UVC 40. Now, the table is kind of has the wide edge facing the camera. Now, with this, if we want to be able to pick up the entire room, we need to have a wider field of view. So we need to make sure that the camera we choose does have a field of view that's going to be wide enough to pick up that table. And that also is determined by how far away that table is from the camera as well. So obviously the closer we get, or we have the table to that camera, the wider the field of view it needs to be able to pick up the participants on that table. The further away it is, that's when we can kind of get away with that narrower field of view. Now, another thing with camera selection is optical zoom. Do we need the camera to be able to zoom into somebody's face at the end of the table? Do we need it to zoom into product demonstrations that we might be doing in that meeting as well? So another key part there is, do we need that optical zoom? So most cameras these days, they're either going to have optical, or they're going to have digital, or they're going to have both. So depending on the use case for that room, will determine whether we do need to go for an optical zoom camera, or we can get away with a digital zoom camera. All right, so looking at the cameras that are available from Yearling. So we have the little UVC 30, which is really a huddle room based solution or a focus room solution. It's a 4K camera, but it has that wide field of view. So the camera can be close to the table. So it can be used, kind of like you're sitting in front of a computer or a desktop. Because you're sitting right in front of that camera up close, a wider field of view is going to be you're going to have a better experience with that camera. Now, the UVC 30 also supports framing, auto framing, and presets as well. Now, moving to the UVC 40. Now, again, this UVC 40 has an even wider field of view, 133 degrees. So perfect for those small, medium rooms where either the table's up nice and close, or you do have the table, the long edge of the table, facing the TVs at the front of the room. With the UVC 40, supports auto framing and speaker tracking. Okay, so what is auto framing? What is speaker tracking? So with auto framing, what the camera is going to do, it actually uses AI technology, and it will automatically zoom in, zoom out. It might pan, it might tilt, whatever it needs to do to fit everybody into the center of the video frame. So for example, I'm sitting at the table by myself. The camera has zoomed in onto me and has fit me into the center of the video frame. If another two people walk into the room and sit down next to me, the camera will automatically zoom out, do what it needs to do, pan, tilt, whatever it needs to do to fit all three people into the center of that video frame. Now, with speaker tracking, a little bit more self-explanatory. So speaker tracking, it's going to always zoom in on the person who is talking. With the UVC 40, also supports presets. So what we can do, or what we mean by presets, is we can move the camera to a predetermined location in the room, and we can actually save that setting. So rather than manually using the pan, tilt, zoom from the control panel, we can select a preset and it will automatically go to that position that we've set. And the UVC 40 also has an electric lens cap. Now we move to the UVC 84. This is a 4K camera. This time we have 12 times optical zoom, and we have 3 times digital zoom. Now with this camera, we only have an 80-degree field of view. So this is going to be a camera that's going to be suited more for those meeting room spaces that have the short edge of the table pointed to, or at the front end of the meeting room. So where the TVs are, is going to be the short edge of the table. Now the UVC 84 also supports auto framing and also has that preset functionality as well. Now, the latest camera from Yealink is a UVCD86. This is what they call a dual eye camera. So it actually has two cameras built into the system. The main camera is a 4K 12 times optical zoom camera with 90-degree field of view. So again, very similar to that UVC 84, where we would have that for those larger meeting room spaces where the short edge of the table is towards the front of the room. Now, the second camera that's built onto this device is also 4K, but this time it has a 120-degree field of view. So that can be used for those, for those tables where it is, or it does have the long edge set up. Now, the main reason for the two-camera solution is to help in the ability for speaker tracking and presenter tracking. So if somebody is moving around the room, we can use that 4K 120-degree camera to follow that person who's speaking. Now, another feature will also be the people feed in the Teams room. So it's a people count. It will also be supported very soon, and also picture-in-picture support. So what picture-in-picture is going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to use that 120-degree field of view camera to show all of the people on that meeting room table, but then it can use a 12 times optical zoom camera to actually zoom in on the person who's speaking if you do have speaker tracking enabled. So this camera is has been released now and is already becoming very, very popular. Okay, so we've covered the kind of the camera selection for our meeting rooms. We've worked out that we need to have a narrow field of view camera for those kind of bigger boardroom tables with the short edge of the table in the meeting room. And we need to have a wide field of view for those smaller meeting rooms where the table might be up close, or we have the long edge of the table towards the front of the room. Now, what we need to do is look at the mic selection. What mics are going to be suitable for the meeting room space that we've got? Okay, so Yealink have three different mic types. We have our VCM34, which is our tabletop wired mics. They have 3 built-in microphone arrays into the mic, and it also has a 6-meter voice pickup. Now, with the VCM34, we can actually have, that says 4 units, that's actually wrong. We can actually have up to 6 units in one solution. Then we move to the VCM38 ceiling mics. So this has 8 built-in mics, 360-degree voice pickup, and we can actually have up to 8 units utilized on a Windows-based MTR solution. Now, with the wireless mic solution, we can support up to 4 wireless mics, and these wireless mics have a pickup of around about 3 meters. Now, when we look at the mics, we might say, well, when do we use a tabletop mic? When do we use a ceiling mic? When do we use wireless mics? So that really comes down to the use case in the room and also the material of the walls and things like that. So when we're talking about using ceiling mics, there's a lot more consideration needed in determining what's in that room, because with the ceiling mics, if you do have a room that has a lot of echo in it already, or we have plain walls, or we have glass walls, or we have polished concrete floors, for example, that room may be echoey already. And those glass walls are going to create a lot of reverberation of noise. So ceiling mics aren't going to work particularly well in those environments. So we really should go for a tabletop mic. Now, if we're going for a tabletop mic, do we go a cable mic? Do we go a wireless mic? That really comes down to personal choice and also ease of deployment. So you've got to remember, when we're running a wired mic to the table, that's an additional Ethernet cable we need to run from front of room to the boardroom table. If we're going wireless mics, no more cables needed. All we're doing is we're placing our wireless mics anywhere on the table, and they can be moved around whenever we need to. Okay, looking at the speakers. So there's really, in regards to kind of medium size and larger rooms, even small rooms, we really only have one solution with the Yealink, and that's the Yealink soundbar, the M speaker. The other two solutions are really for kind of small to focus rooms. So the CP900, which was used with one of the older versions of the MBC 300, and also the older VC210 collaboration bar. Now we've moved on to the M Speech. So these two devices are actual speaker phones. They've got mics and speakers built into these devices. So these two devices are the only things you need when you know, in a MTR solution. There's no need to have separate mics or separate speakers. Now with the M Speech, this is the latest speakerphone from Yealink. It does have AI features, so it supports Cortana. You've probably seen now that Cortana is now available on your Windows-based MTR solutions. And it also supports voice transcription as well. Now moving back to the Yealink soundbar. So the soundbar is really your only solution when it comes to medium to larger rooms devices. Now the great thing about the Yealink soundbars is they are all Ethernet connected. So they do have a 3.5mm line in as well. So if you are only using a single speaker and a single camera, and it's easier for you to run a 3.5mm cable, that's fine, we can do that as well. But the benefit of having that Ethernet connectivity means that the speakers are PoE powered. There's no need to use an additional power supply. And we can actually run up to 4 of these speakers per Windows MTR solution. So we now can cater from a small room all the way up to a larger boardroom by just adding additional speakers. Okay, so this table here just kind of gives you a bit of an overview of the different mics, how many mics you can actually, or how many mics can be supported on your MTR systems, and also how many speakers can be supported as well. I won't go into too much detail there. Okay, room design considerations. So I kind of did go over a little bit of this during the presentation already, but one thing to consider, or a few things to consider, I should say, is definitely the material of the walls and the floors and the ceiling. Like I said, with that, having glass walls, it's going to cause a lot of reverberation or echo in the room. So if you do have glass walls, if you're using the Yealink kits, go for a tabletop mic. The ceiling mics are going to cause issues. Now there are ceiling mics, you know, out there that are available that will cater for, you know, reducing the echo and things like that when you do have glass rooms. But you're going to be looking at $7,000 plus for one mic to do this. So if you can get away with using tabletop mics in a glass meeting room, definitely do that. Another thing to consider is cable runs. So with the Yealink kit, if you don't know already, it's a very straightforward, easy installation. When we're talking about running cables and what cables need to be run, there's only potentially one cable that needs to be run from front of room to the table. And that is an Ethernet cable for the touch panel. Other than that, all of the cables can be hidden behind or at the front of the room, whether it's behind the TV or whether it might be in a credenza or something like that at the front of the room. Now, once we start talking about running or using wired tabletop mics, okay, then we need to run a second Ethernet cable. But for a simple, or for a solution where we're using wireless mics or ceiling mics, there's only one cable that needs to be run from front of room to table. So that's another thing to be considered. We need to make sure how easy, or how can we access, or how can we run a cable from front of room to the table? Is it possible? Do we have to run it over the carpet? Can we put it under the carpet? So those are the kind of things that need to be considered as well. And the next thing is where we're going to mount our devices. You know, we have the M Core, which is our compute on our Windows MTR. That needs to be mounted somewhere. Majority of times that is mounted behind the TV. We have our camera. We have our sound bars. Now, all these devices need to be mounted somewhere. So we need to make sure that we have an available location to have these mounted. So normally, the sound bar would go under the TVs, or they might go beside each TV. The camera might go above the TVs. The M-Core or the compute might go behind the TVs. So we've got to make sure that we do have available space for mounting these devices. Now, other things to consider, if it's an existing meeting room, is there already audio in the room? Do they already have ceiling mics? Do they already have ceiling speakers? Do we want to use these? If we do, we need to make sure that the kit we're buying is going to support these devices. Next thing, are we using one display? Are we using two displays? It's another thing we need to consider. When we're talking about one or two displays, if it's a small room, one display is probably okay. But as soon as we get to the medium to larger rooms, we really need to be using two displays. And then we also need to decide the size of those displays. How big do these TVs need to be? You've got to remember that majority of times in a meeting, we're sharing content. We need to be able to read what's on that content, what's on those PowerPoint slides. We need to be able to read them to make sure that the TV size that you select is suitable for that room size that you're using. Okay, next, I'm just quickly going to run through a couple of pictures of a few of the Yearling kits, just showing that that's, the connectivity between front of room to table, and some of the example room layouts. So for the MVC 400 here, it's a kind of a small huddle room solution. So we've got that UVC 40 camera mounted on the wall underneath the TV. And this is providing both video, mic, and speaker solution. We've got that M-Core hidden away underneath the front table. And then we've got that one single Ethernet cable going back out to the touch panel. And in this example, we're using the WPP20 to wirelessly present content into our meeting. Okay, second, we're looking at the MVC 640. So again, we've got that compute behind the TV this time. We've got our M speaker mounted underneath the TV, and we've got a camera sitting on the credenza at the front of the room. Now, it's not showing on this picture, but that single Ethernet cable running from front of room to table for the M-Touch. And we've got our two wireless mics sitting on this table. And this is probably a small to medium size meeting room space. And then again, we're using the WPP20 to wirelessly present content into our meeting. Next, we look at the the MVC 840. So this is more of a larger space. So again, this time we've got two TVs. We've got that M-Core or compute mounted behind the TV. We've got our soundbar underneath our TVs and the camera sitting on the credenza. This time we've got two Ethernet cable runs to the boardroom table, because we've got one cable for the wired mics, the VCM34, and we've got a second Ethernet cable for the M-Touch. And again, we're using that WPP20 to wirelessly present content into our meeting. Now, if you don't want to use that WPP20, on the M-Touch itself, we do have that USB-C or HDMI cable solution available there for content sharing as well. Okay, this is a larger room space with the MVC 860. So this time we're utilizing the UVC 86 camera. Again, we've got that compute either behind the TV or under the credenza. We've got Ethernet connected speaker. We've got an Ethernet, so that bottom in the credenza, is an Ethernet switch. So we've got the speaker connected to the switch, the wired mics connected to the switch as well. And then we've got the switch also connected to the camera, and the camera is connected to the compute via USB. So one great thing about the Yearling devices, which I should have touched on before, was that entire Ethernet connectivity. So we can connect and power the cameras via USB. We can connect and power the speaker via USB. sorry, via PoE, I should say, sorry. And the mics as well, the VCM34s and the VCM38s, all powered via PoE. So these can all be connected via PoE through a PoE switch. And then there's a single USB connection from camera to the compute or to the M-Core. And then again, we have that presentation connectivity either via WPP20 or via the USB-C to HDMI cable that comes with the kit as well. And then moving on to the last setup, which is a large training room solution. We've got a multi-camera solution. We're using the MVC4 940 kit. We've got 4 speakers set up. We've got 2 at the front of the room, 1 on each side. We've got ceiling mics, up to 6 ceiling mics connected, again, all via Ethernet. And we've got the M-Touch sitting at the front desk there for presenting and control of the meeting. And going back to the A20, A30s, so that ease of installation with these devices, we've got a single either Ethernet cable or Wi-Fi cable connection on the A20 or the A30. We've got HDMI from the A20 or A30 to our TV, and we've got obviously got that power supply for the A20 or the A30. Now, with the control panel this time on the A20, A30, it doesn't need to connect back to the front of room. It just needs to have internet access. So both the A20 and A30 require internet access, and so does that control panel. But this time the control panel actually pairs to our A20 or A30 over the network. So we don't need to have that direct connectivity. And then we can use that WPP20 for content sharing into our meetings with the Android solutions. All right, guys, just to finish off, I know that's kind of been a lot of information and I've kind of sped through it as quickly as possible. It's just gone 1 o'clock now. One thing I want you guys to check out, this is a new website recently released by Yealink. It's the Yealink Room Configurator. What I'll do, if you all got a couple more minutes, what I might just quickly do is move off the PowerPoint presentation and move onto the website and just show you quickly a little bit about this room or the room configurator. So hopefully, let me just quickly sharing. I'm hoping you guys can see that still. Now can someone just raise their hand or let me know and make sure they can see the window still? Yep, you still can, perfect. Okay, so from this website here, so support.yealink.com, room configurator, there's now, Yealink have built a website that you can use to help you work out what Yealink kit is going to be best for the room size that you're looking at a solution for. So what we can do from there is we click on Get Started. I'll just take you through one quick kind of solution. So let's say we've got a medium room that is going to support around about 12 people. So we click on that and we click Next. Once we go to here, it gives us a a few different options for the kits that might or that will suit this room type. So we've got the 64510, which comes with the wireless mics, the sound bar, the 12x optical zoom camera, PC and touch panel, or we've got the option to go with the M-Speech speaker rather than the mics and the sound panel. Again, this time we've got the 660 camera, so the UVC 86 rather than the UVC 84 camera, and that would depend on whether we need speaker tracking and things like that. Or we've got that Android-based solution as well. So we've got the A30, which would be suitable for this room size as well. Now, I won't touch on the meeting boards yet because they're not quite released, but those devices will be coming soon as well. And that'll be another lunch and learn session once they've been released. So once we've decided what room kit we think is going to be suitable for the room, we click on Next. It's going to tell us already the peripherals that come with that kit, but then we've also got a few optional accessories that we may want to add to the kit as well. We can select those devices. So let's say we want a wireless presentation pod. We want to also support, you know, a bring your own device solution where we can bring our laptop into the room and run whatever VC solution we want. That's probably confused a lot of you as well if you don't know about it, but that's another time and a place as well for that discussion. We click on next. We've got that additional mounting kits and cable runs and things like that that we can choose from as well. You know, if we need to extend that USB cable, depending on where we're mounting different devices, we can select different options there. Then we click next, and we've got a 3D diagram of what we've selected, the SKUs that we need to purchase. Now we've also got wiring diagram, so it's going to show us how we're going to connect all these peripherals together. And a little bit of a seating diagram as well about that mic pickup range and kind of where those mics need to be placed on the table to have the best effect for the audio pickup. And as we can see, we've got that camera field of view as well. So how far away that table needs to be to make sure we're kind of picking up the entire room. All right, guys, I'll finish on that. Now, before we do finish, do we have any questions, guys? Okay, so Narav, does the Roomcast device wirelessly connect laptop to UVC-40 for doing wireless video calling without USB cable to BioBox? No. So the Roomcast will connect or will display, or sorry, it will cast your what is on your notebook to the front of room display, but it's not going to connect you to that UVC-40. So you still need to have that USB cable connected to the UVC-40 for that camera, mic, and speaker solution on your notebook. Okay, guys, is there any questions? All right, let's give it a couple of minutes to see if there's any questions. Now, just so you all know, this recording will be put up on the Alloy website and YouTube channel later on this afternoon, so you can view it again if you need to. And also, as I always say at the end of these sessions, look out for the next Lunch and Learn session. That will be in a fortnight's time, and it's caught me off guard. I don't even know what the next session is going to be, but I'll quickly tell you. So in a fortnight, the next session will be setting up mesh Wi-Fi networks. So another interesting topic that will be coming up in a fortnight's time. All right, guys, if there's no other questions, we'll finish it there. Once again, thank you very much for your time today, and we will see you all next time. Thanks, guys.